On today's episode, we have Lance Fullinwider, Dallas area salesman of Microlife. He traded his cleats at the University of Tennessee for a career that's transforming the way sports fields and more are built and maintained from the ground up, helping facilities ditch the chemical cycle for something healthier, safer, and built to last. Hi, Lance. Thanks for chatting with us today.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Can you share with everyone a bit about your background and what you do for a living now?
Well, I guess as briefly as possible, my degree is in horticulture landscape design from University of Tennessee in 1982. Married a Texan, couldn't get her out. So I moved to Texas. I was with the University of North Texas grounds manager. After I got here, started with 250 acres, ended up with 450 by the time I left 26 years later. Countless irrigation systems, 4,000 trees, 35 acres of high use recreational sports fields, 35 acres, or that included NCAA practice and game fields. Thankfully, not the stadium, though, since it was plastic. But started using liquid organics in the mid 90s. Met Microlife in 2010, never looked back. After 26 years of the university, I left and didn't really intend to work again. Then Microlife came calling. So here I am, and I'm enjoying it, enjoying working with people.
Well, that's amazing. We love working with Lance too. He has such a great personality. And we've learned about so many, different kinds of clients and different kinds of things from working with Lance. And I find, the overlap between being an athlete and being in business is actually really a strong correlation. I used to play college sports myself. I played lacrosse. And I just wanted to know from your perspective, you played soccer in college and for your whole life. I believe you still kind of do some pickup soccer stuff. Well, you did at one point.
Yes.
Um, what did soccer give you that you lean on in business now?
I played the beautiful game for, I don't know, 32, 33 years. I played it when it wasn't known in this country, and I've watched it grow from absolutely nothing to the beautiful game that it is today, played by millions of kids and excellent professional athletes and whatnot. And what I learned, especially at the collegiate level, we played all the other SEC schools. We were a club sport, so but enjoyed all the SEC schools, and the teamwork, the training, the game flow, foreign and domestic players. You create a team to work together to overcome whatever issues there may be, and so that's what I really learned from being an athlete all those years.
Yeah, yeah, it's really cool being able to put something bigger than yourself into perspective. I think it helps us all be better, collaborators and community throughout the world. So I think that's really important skill. So let's chat a little bit about sports fields. Can you share with everyone your experience of working in the sports industry and how that may differ from our classic retailers or general landscape maintenance side of business we talk about a lot?
Well, the landscape industry is so wide. I mean, from, like you say, from retail to landscape contractors to parks departments to schools. I mean, you name it. I mean, it's so wide and many varied, inputs go into everything, especially with tight budgets at the college level. I'm sure that the cities, have the tight budgets, as do the ISDs and everything. Most people are not funded for sports field maintenance. As I mentioned, that 35 acres was just a small portion of the 450 that we do, but it got a lot of attention. You have to make pitches playable, and I've been on pitches of all sorts. For those that don't know what a pitch is, it's a field. The Europeans love to call soccer fields pitches. So, anyway, we have to make fields because of their high intensity usage. We have to make those fields playable across a wide variety of athletic abilities. So we used a lot of different equipment. We mowed 3 to 4 days a week. We used aeration equipment, fertilizer spreaders, top dressers, all kinds of different equipment that I wouldn't necessarily use in the retail world, or landscape contractors may not have all of that, big heavy equipment, but had to do it because I like to create a well-rounded program that will, equipment wise, a more holistic picture of how to care for fields and that type thing is not just go out and mow. We have to look at what's under the grass, at the soil. I mean, you have to look at irrigation. You have to look at soil profiles. You have to be a doctor, which I'm not, of soils. Because if you don't understand soils, then you can't make the fields good for all the players. And you have to understand the equipment that's going to help you get there. And you have to understand the inputs, the ingredients, fertilizers and amendments and top dressings that you have to put into the field to make it constantly good.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there's so many things that, these athletic directors have to take into account for oppositely the teammates that are playing. I mean, the amount of tear you might get on a football field versus a soccer field versus a lacrosse field, impacts on injury and so many other factors. So I think it's really important that people are taking care of the soil. I just remember whenever we would play lacrosse teams on turf that was fake, it was a very different story for care for our injuries after versus real grass. So there's a lot of things that you need to definitely take into consideration.
Oh yeah, I remember the several times we were allowed to play in Neyland Stadium, and it was like a bristle brush. And to sit there and make a slide tackle, you learn quickly not to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Just rip your skin off. But anyway, didn't mean to interrupt.
The little, like, tire things, the rubber things you would find in your shoes, it's, like, a whole different story.
Well,
So
that would be, yeah, that all of those little crumbs are a pain.
no kidding. So sports field managers are notorious loyal to what works. How do you convince a groundskeeper at a stadium or school district to trust an organic program when synthetics have been the default for decades for those guys?
Well, in college, we got taught that essentially all of your typical ag fertilizers, salt based, high salt content fertilizers, were the ticket to make healthy plants. Knowing that and trying to educate other folks that there are other options. I mean, knowing that the salt-based fertilizers literally will take a filet mignon soil that's good and turn it into beef jerky, which is, it's still good, but it's bad for playing surfaces because it's not a healthy soft turf that's well knit, that's not going to cause injuries. It's more, causes a lot more compaction, with the beef jerky type soil, and leads to disease and leads to insect infestation. So, I always found that if something's not working, let's try something different. Let's look at, what is the old saying? If you try something again and again and again and it's not working, that's the meaning of insanity. Something along those
Definition.
lines. Y- You know, and so if you are not being adventurous, it's just something that, I mean, you got to be in this industry.
Mhm.
Most of your fertilizers, typical fertilizers that have been expounded upon for years and years and years, have 3 to 5, maybe 7 minerals and nutrients. Most of your ag schools say you need 17 for plants to be healthy. We believe in 52 and give you 67 plus.
Yeah.
So we give you the kitchen sink of minerals and nutrients and all kinds of good stuff to sit there and make a super healthy soil. And plus, we give you the biology, which so many soils are lacking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I mean, I don't try to convince. I
Mhm.
go, let's go look at your fields. Okay. I try to, paint pictures of what's good soil, what's bad soil. That's the only thing you can do. And if people understand that and are willing to go forth, and, look at things and, hey, let's go look at your soils. One of the things I offer is hey, take this sample and go draw a smiley face on your turf. See what happens. And a couple weeks later, they go, can you come back?
And I think a lot of people get smiley faces from working with you, Lance, because you're just like so fun and you have such a unique way of looking at things. And I feel like, too, like organics versus synthetics, from my perspective, synthetic programs tend to be very reactive, while organic programs are farther more proactive. And that is a very big difference whenever you want something that lasts all season long.
Year in and year out, yeah. You can't have a downtime with sports fields because you look at cities and colleges and everything, and the only downtime you have in the college setting and K-12 is summertime. But
Yeah.
then you have sports camps and all that kind of stuff, so fields are constantly in use. I'll talk about a little bit of field use care, if I may. You don't happen to know Dr. Grady Miller from NC State University, do you?
Mm-mm.
Well, early 2000s, I believe, he did a study to where he found that up to 400 hours of play on the sports fields, you can grow a healthy turf grass that's safe and for use for all the athletes. And then you look at up to 600 hours of play, you start having wear. And when you get up to 800 hours of play, you really probably have, turf grass and fields, the soils that are hard as rocks, and you won't have much turf coverage. So, it's something that if you don't have that healthy soil to support the wear and tear from hundreds of hours of field play, then you can't provide a good surface, safe surface.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's like by far one of the most important things, we want from these kinds of field usages. And so how
Um,
does an organic program actually compete or outperform synthetic fertilizers on those metrics? Do you think there's an impact on injury frequency and severity for the athletes that are competing?
oh, I believe so. I mean, if you have a very pleasant, soft, well knit turf grass, it can withstand the constant play. But once you go to that compaction, the poor health of the soil, then injuries rise. I mean, there's
Mhm.
no doubt about it. I mean, in my opinion, it's quite devastating to watch kids go out there instead of being able to play on something that's full grass and, all you see is dust rising up from the grass in the field as they're running along and then they slide tackle. And I mean, it hurts to watch. I think a lot of people can relate to a good field that's very healthy versus a field that's not healthy.
Yeah. And it does make an impact whenever it's raining too.
Well, yeah. If you have a compacted field, you might get a little bit of depth of the moisture because the field is not open and airy. It's not aggregated soil. It cannot absorb the rain. And a nice, healthy, aerated soil will actually absorb all the soil plus drain it all off, the excess soil. You get those hard fields and, um, they're just a nightmare to play on because they're very slick. They're unforgiving. Balls bounce in very strange ways.
Mhm.
Uh, Athletes slide all over the place. It's just not a good thing for rainouts. I mean, if it rains for 3 or 4 days beforehand, you're not going to be playing on those fields. If the nice fields are helping to drain all the excess water, then you're able to play those fields. You may play on those fields, maybe not as much during a tournament. You might have a restricted window, but you're much better able to play on that because you want fields to be able to breathe. You want them to be able to drain. You want them to be able to be resilient for all the athletes. So depending on how long people have been using organics, the longer you use it, the better they become.
Yeah.
If you're just starting out on a program, it might take 6 months to a year. Might take a couple years. Depends on how much positive inputs you can, give because the typical ag chemistry destroys and the organics build the soil.
Mhm. What is the biggest misconception you have to deal with when you present to people running sports fields?
Um, I believe probably, oh, it costs too much.
Yeah.
Well, going back to the insanity that we talked about a little while ago, if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, you're having to use more fertilizers and more pesticides to sit there and try to keep the field in good shape. Well, you keep compounding the problem. And so
Mhm.
your expenses go up, whereas when you use the organics, you're helping to aerate the soil, you break all of the bonds, the microbiology glues everything together in larger soil aggregates, so you create the air and water channels through the soil. You're building a healthy foundation so that
Mhm.
the roots can breathe, the plants can breathe. You've got roots that go deeper down in the soil. You're increasing the organic matter. And you know about organic matter in soils. You know how much organic matter is in sand? Not much. Okay. How much is in clay? Less than 2%, generally. Sandy loam is getting over 2%. Most plants need 3 to 6% organic matter in the soil to have a very healthy life, to support the microbial life, to retain moisture. So for each 1% organic matter that we can increase in the soil long term, then we're able to store about 20,000 gallons per acre. Oh, that might be one less irrigation cycle. All kinds of different things. So it's when you build that soil, your long-term cost, in my opinion, go down.
Yeah, definitely.
You continue to put in, the organics several times a year, and you keep building it because the other thing is when you look at city water, I know the water up in Denton where I was at UNT was over
Mhm.
8. Plus it was full of chlorines and fluorines and all these other
Yeah.
chemicals. And what do those guys do? Oh, that stuff sits there and kills microbiology. So you need to keep putting the biology back in there to help promote the population. So costing too much is, the typical ag horticulture applications. Yeah, it's the method of insanity.
No doubt, no doubt. The chemical merry-go-round is not a fun ride to ride, I don't think.
No, oh,
So, how
agree.
does an organic program handle a field that's been heavily used after like a tournament weekend or one of those rain out weekends we talked about?
How does it handle it?
Yeah.
In everything that I've ever witnessed, it recovers more quickly simply because of the fact of, a compacted soil from typical ag fertilizers, all of the heavy compaction by all the kids, they create that top 1 to 3 inches compaction layer on top. And what
Mhm.
does that do? It literally acts like a raincoat. Okay. If you ever put a raincoat on the ground after it's been wet, the moisture stays there. And as moisture as the soil on the standard field, not an organic field, is not breathing very well because of that cap,
Mhm.
then what do you get? You get a non-aerated condition. You have the smell, the soil smell can get pretty obnoxious and you
Mhm.
become very bacterial. Think of a septic tank smell. I don't know if you know what a septic tank smells like, but it's not very pleasant.
Unfortunately.
Uh, so, the organic soils are more aerated, they drain, and they recover quickly. The typical ag fields, they won't, and it
Mhm.
takes them a long time to regrow not only their color, their strength, their health. It just takes a whole lot longer for the ag field to do that versus an organic field. I like organic fields.
Me
They
too. I'd
recover a whole
rather
lot quicker.
I've
I had at UNT, I had fields that had 1,800 hours of play on them a year,
wow.
okay, plus. And the only problem times that I would really have would be when at the end of softball season.
Mhm.
first, second, third, pitcher mound, the batter's box, and we would literally go through there, and you might have a space that's 10 by 10 or 10 by 15 or something like that, and we'd go through there and we just shatter aerator. We'd dump a bunch of Humates Plus on there, and then follow it up with some hybrid, and those big areas would literally go like this within a month.
Wow.
You know, if I use a typical ag fertilizer, that wouldn't happen,
Yeah,
you know? It's crazy, but sustainable fields, organic fields react better, much quicker, faster recovery.
absolutely. So, what does a healthy sports field actually look like underneath the surface of what we see? Most people only see the grass. What are you measuring and looking for that nobody else in the stadium is thinking about?
Well, I mean, when I first walk on a pitch, I first look weeds. I look for curling of, what the color of the turf grass looks like. Is it yellowish green versus a dark green? Are the tips of the grasses, was the mower sharp when it cut the grass? Like I said, I look for weeds. I asked about the typical irrigation cycles. Are they using evapotranspiration rates to apply, water properly? I test for compaction. I should have had my compaction meter in here that I could show you. Then I pull soil cores 10 to 12 inches deep. And so I will look from top to bottom, and then I'll smell it. And I know all of the people that I go visit with go, "Why are you smelling soils?" I go, "Well, if I smell it down at the bottom of the soil sample, what am I smelling? Well, by the time I get to the top, what am I smelling? Down at the bottom, it's usually fairly innocuous. There's not much smell to it. If you get up into the middle part, you start smelling some pleasantness. When you get up towards the top 1 to 2 inches, you smell a lot of pleasant fragrance that's on
Mhm.
a healthy turf. We want to extend that down 6, 8, 10 inches if we can. The longer it's organic, the deeper that'll get because the soil is breathing. I look for layering of the soils. The compaction meter, when you actually push it into the ground, has 3-inch measurements on the rod, and you can actually feel where the soil will cut loose and allow
Mhm.
you into the next layer of soil. So when you pull that soil sample, you can actually see those heavier layers of soil where the compactions are or compaction is. And so being able to determine if it's sand, sandy loam, clay, how to mix all that up, how to get aeration into the soil. The smell that I talked about is your microbiology in action.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
I like that pleasant smell
Yeah.
because it tells me I got lots of good guys helping me. Or if it's the bad smell, the septic smell, then I got lots of bad guys working against me. And so got to have that pleasant smell. So those are a lot of the things that I look at. And I also suggest, sending soil sample down to Texas Plant and Soil Labs down in Edinburgh. They have a test down there. Yeah, it's expensive, costs about $165, but it's a full panel of macros and micros, and also will give you the microbiology that's in there. I mean, so it's a really, really good test.
That's awesome. It's
Yeah.
really valuable insight. And so, if an athletic director is listening right now and they've never considered doing an organic field before, what's one thing you would want them to walk away with from this episode knowing?
Well, we don't wanna continue doing the insanity that we've always done. I mean, it really boils down to that. Give it a try, give it a shot. What is it going to hurt to try something different? I know it's gonna work to go the organic way. You gotta build the soil food web.
Mhm.
If you don't have all the microbiology, if you don't have the insects, you don't have aeration, you don't have all of the good things happening in your soils are not going to be happy
Mhm.
and your plants are not going to be happy. And anything that's growing or playing on those fields is not going to be happy. Going back to, I'd mentioned, the 5 to 7 nutrients that are in typical for ag fertilizers, when Microlife gives you, what, up to 17 times more minerals and nutrients than a standard fertilizer, and 3 times more than, what the ag schools say are necessary.
Mhm.
Remember they said 17, and we're giving you 52 plus, or believe 52 and give you 67 plus. I mean, it's just the organics are something that's going to do nothing but, give your kids a shot to play on a good field. So let's take half of a field or the sideline or a practice field or athletic director. Let's do something different. Give it a shot, because it's going to work. And
Absolutely.
then I also talk to them, I'm there to help them, set up their programs, whether that be mechanical, irrigation, the big picture of field care, because, if I can help them have a good program, then, they're going to be happy.
Yeah.
So it's not just, we can't concentrate on just mechanical, or we can't just
Mhm.
concentrate on typical ag, you know. Just doing organics just by itself is a massive step forward, but combined with proper mechanical, proper irrigation, proper number of use hours, giving a very holistic, well-rounded approach to field care, that's what you need, and a lot of folks simply don't have that.
Yeah. So true. Lance, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it, and we'll definitely have you on again soon. Can you share with how the people can get in touch with you, whether they want to add Microlife on their sports fields or ask you any questions?
Sure, I guess I should have made a little sign. Maybe I have a business card here that
That'll work.
I don't know if you can read this, but I mean, there's my phone number and, can you read, does it read correctly to you, or
I
is it
can read that.
backwards?
Yep. No, it looks right.
But, my cell phone, if they wanna call, is 214-534-2317. Now, since you're not in my phone, I'm not gonna answer it, so please leave a message, and I will get back with you. If you want to, send me an email, then it's LANS as in Sam, E as in Eric, F as in Frank, at sanjaksupply.com. That's JACSUPPLY.com.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome.